Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this session on innovation on housing. Personally delighted to be here, but also missing seeing everybody. So much of the conference created the connections, the relationships, and the trust that is needed to deliver housing. And those connections and relationships were built at this conference, where as approved housing bodies, local authorities and many others, we come together to meet the challenges we all face in providing housing in our community. I always feel that the amount of relationships, business cards and follow-up actions every 2 years was the reason that this was held biannually rather than annually. I suppose innovation in housing, just to say we have some wonderful presenters today and I really hope you enjoy it. First, we will have Carina Dantas from Seán, Portugal. Then we'll have Patrick Benn from Clenn Construction, and then Mary O'Sullivan from Cuan and Chláir. We're a few minutes behind, so I'll try and keep myself and everybody else to time, so we have time for everybody's questions. Just, I suppose, a few opening remarks on innovation in housing. I always feel that innovation in housing, innovation itself is our history. As approved housing bodies, we come together really to provide the solutions to housing in our communities. We all grew out of the innovation so we could meet the needs of our communities. The challenge in housing is that the needs of our community are not static. They keep changing. Expectations of tenants change. The types of housing required keeps changing. And the environment we all operate has so many moving parts that are never quite static. Our sector has always been in the forefront of innovation because that is how we've ensured to meet the housing needs of all sectors and community, especially those who present unique challenges, support likes of homeless people, older people, people with disabilities, people that even though they face challenges in providing them housing, we want to keep them in the community where they belong and where they want to be. Innovation itself always brings challenges, and because usually innovation comes because something we do no longer works. Change in our sector is uniquely complex, and in some cases, we all know it doesn't come as quick as we like. There are so many moving parts of relations, funding models, and we need to bring all them together to bring new models of housing, new types of models together. And I salute everybody who's worked on this these things over the years. It is never easy. In addition, as we innovate, we're left to wrestle of how we provide the supports needed for those in our housing, where those supports are required. And as those with support needs can find it the hardest to find long-term housing, it is a large focus for our housing. There are many challenges in our society is currently grappling with in relation to housing, but two major impacts, types and location of housing, need to be there. Two major items that stand out for me are the aging demographic and the change in the household size. We all know by 2031, we will have 1 million over 65. And this aging demographic will require a transformation in how we operate with the aim of supporting older people to age at home. Unless we address the housing needs of this older cohort, Ireland may be faced with a different crisis in the future. For ourselves in Alone, we've always tried to sponsor innovation, and we've currently been working on models of housing with on-site support, 24/7 for older people with their own front door, universal design, and using technology and creating a model that is scalable and transferable, work urban and rural, and working on that project for over 5 years with all the statutories and multiple NGOs to make happen. At the same time, we're creating a network of staff and volunteers with over 60 agencies to provide the support to older people, regardless of who owns the home. And technology, which has been a focus of a lot of talks in the last few days, we have a living lab, around 14 projects across the country to empower older people to manage their own safety, security, and health and well-being and their social connectivity. The uniqueness of what we all do in our area is usually that we create and innovate these models so they can be shared, copied, and scaled and used by others. I see Housing for All provides an opportunity to address the housing needs of all people, but especially all older people, you know, and collectively to make it happen and to implement this plan, we will all need to innovate. I know so many people at this conference have worked tirelessly, whether in approved housing bodies, local authorities, or in other agencies, to provide housing for the housing needs of our people in our community. And I think we should all thank you and appreciate your efforts. So now, if we move on to our first presenter, Carina, the CEO of Seán to Europe from Portugal, who will present now. I think I've been given very long bios for everybody, but really she has worked across so many agencies with technology and housing and partnerships across Europe, and we're delighted to have her here today.
Thank you so much, Seán, for the introduction and for your first words around this. I also want to make a very expressive thank you to Donald and to the Irish Council for the invitation. You do a very wonderful job in this area, and it's a pleasure to be here talking to you today. So I will also try not to be very long and just put up some ideas for discussion, and that allows us also to go into the questions afterwards. As Seán mentioned, I'm the CEO of Seán to Europe, a small company in Portugal that works mainly on the different areas that will allow to promote inclusive communities to all citizens. This, of course, means a number of different things, so I will also try to explain a little bit. We are currently involved in several European projects. Most of them are either in the area of inclusion, in the area of design for all. It's something that I heard already in the previous section, and also some other areas connected to social inclusion and ethics. Today, what I would like to bring forward to the discussion in this panel is the concept of smart, healthy, and friendly environments, which in my perspective is very connected to social housing by principle. This started some years ago, especially when we started hearing that people should live and age in their own homes. This would go not only for older people, like Seán was referring before, but also to people with disabilities. People.
Share your screen and share it to Chris.
I'm sorry, if it was possible for Mary to mute. Thank you. No problem. So I was just saying that when we started discussing this, it was not only because of older adults, but of course because of people with different needs. And it is wonderful that we try to institutionalize less and allow people to live in their own communities. But this also means that the houses need to be ready for this innovation that we were discussing before. So in 2017, we brought up to the European Commission the concept of smart, healthy, and friendly environments, which actually became into a new word, SHAFE. And the main purpose of this was to try to highlight that we have been for so many years discussing different areas with different people. That is, we discuss health with the Ministry of Health, we discuss social care with another ministry, and the urban planning and the construction area are discussed under a different stream, etc., etc. And digital, which should bring such a revolution in so many areas, is also discussed on the different sector. And this also implies different funding and different funding lines. So our main value proposition was that this needs to be aligned, and that is bringing health, social care, the built environment, and ICT brought to discussion together, either at the Commission level, at the member state level, and with the main areas of policy and funding. That is, this was a concept that was well accepted by many organizations. And in 2018, we had this approved as a thematic network, then evolved to a stakeholders network. And we delivered the joint statement to the European Commission and member states with the support of around 170 organizations in Europe. So this mainly said what I just briefly explained, that we need to have this shared vision together, cooperate, and have conditions for funding that align with it. And of course, research and citizen empowerment needs to be at the basis of this. So the main points, and now also going to housing, was that we can indeed innovate, but we need a lot of different things to allow this innovation. And of course, on one side, ICT is key, but we also need that citizens know how to use them. This requires literacy and less inequalities. We also need public services to be rethought. We need integrated pathways. We need to have reliable sources of data. But for today's purpose, some of the main challenges are also around environments. And we need, of course, to have affordable housing, but also adequate housing. And this means plan it well and also allow it to be retrofitted if necessary. And for example, this main area of housing was very discussed in a previous project we had with robots. We were testing a robot in older people's houses in Portugal. And the truth is that most of the challenges we had actually had to do with the conditions of the housing. So we should be evolving the robot in order to provide some services, but the houses had stairs. They didn't have a lift, for example, to take the robot. They were very cluttered and very small in the corridors, or they had strange configurations in terms of the places where you could put the furniture. So all of this, of course, are issues that are not connected to technology, but instead to housing. So we need to put them together and align them if we really want to foster innovation. So this led more recently last year to the creation of the network Net for Each Friendly, which is currently funded by the Cost Association, a program of the European Commission. And the main idea was to continue the discussions around SHAFE with, for the next 4 years. So we are now trying to bring together all of the relevant stakeholders to discuss. We are now currently with 320 participants from 46 countries, so beyond Europe as well, trying to understand how we can promote this implementation of smart, healthy indoor and outdoor environments, either for the present and also for the future generations. So to do this, we are working mainly on 5 different working groups, and they go from user-centered design to integrated health and well-being, digital solutions, sustainability, and putting them together into a reference framework. This means that on one side, we are also looking at all of the things that make an environment healthy. And this is either for older people as for any person at the course, during the course of their own lives. This can go for children, people, a pregnant mother, a person with a disability, or any of us at the face of any difficulty. It also means that we need to empower people to have healthier lifestyles, because this is also a part of this. And of course, this can be supported by ICT. So currently we have so many different possibilities of bringing ICT either at the personal level or also at the home level. But as we were saying, this also means that housing needs to be adequate, and housing implies also the outdoor spaces and mobility to the houses. So for example, in this case, when we are also discussing social housing, the environment where it is integrated is also a very big part of this inclusiveness that we foster. So there are a number of very nice innovations, let's say, in housing that we can search and find. I have some links here. I imagine that the presentation can be shared later on. Some of them are quite near you. This is an example from the Blackwood homes. For example, these are apartments that are accessible for people with disabilities. So if you can see on the right side, this all of those cabinets for storing come down and up as necessary so that people can access them. This is also an example of a house that is automated and accessible through a tablet. This is called Clever Cogs. I have to say, I don't have any commercial interest on any of these products. I just used some of the examples I already had, and I want to also keep this clear. So for example, in this case, even during the COVID pandemic, people could access to different services through the tablets and also talk to other people, because this was a big issue for a lot of people during the pandemic, the isolation and the lack of support. This is another example from Vizcaya, which is the Etxegokik, if I could pronounce this well, apartments. They are all prepared to be fully automated, and they can work and have sensors around the house for all of the different needs of people. And this is another example from the Netherlands, where social care is also provided through virtual assistants. So we have a number of these solutions available. And the main point with this is that what we really propose is that people should not really need to adapt to environments. And this so many times happen with housing. You rent or you buy the house, you can rent or buy, and then you need to adapt to it. But the truth is that the environment should be able to adapt to our needs as we grow, as we get old, as we enlarge the family. And I do think that this very much fits into social housing. And I brought here 4 examples that are completely connected to social housing. One of them comes from Japan, and it is modular housing. This can be something interesting for social housing providers. Maybe this also exists in Ireland. I'm not sure, but I know this example. And the truth is that the houses are prepared to fit different sizes of tenants' families, which is, of course, a good solution when there's a lot of rotation in the renting of the houses. Another nice example currently is the possibility to do all of the renting process, the repairment, the maintenance, and any queries that exist through online portals. I also found a number of them either in Ireland and in the UK. And as far as I understand, this can probably help a lot to save some costs in terms of the social housing provision. If you want to go beyond this, of course, there's also a number of different sensors that can be applied in the different areas of the housing, and that can help to control the heating, to allow to provide alerts or to enable the lightenings. And this also is a way to have more climate-friendly solutions and less energy spending, for example. And finally, of course, you can go wild and have robots and virtual assistants, etc. And this can also be a solution to provide health and care, because this is, as far as I know, also services that are very much related to social housing provision. So can this be of interest? Well, eventually there are solutions that can also help social housing to go a bit beyond. And one of them, for example, is to apply for certification. In the last years, I was also involved in the advisory board of a project, which is Homes for Life, that designed the certification for smart and integrated living environments. And some of the examples I brought today came exactly from this project, because they tried to do this, to put all of these different areas together, these 6 strategic clusters, and respond to them in order to try to bring as much inclusiveness to the solution they were giving as possible. So I think certification officially will come into place during next year. So this may be something that is of interest as a guidance to some of the social housing providers that may be at the conference today. And with this, I will end. And just as a follow-up cue, say that I do hope that everyone present can continue their wonderful work in this area and try as much as possible to make this holistic vision of providing good solutions to people that are happy. Thank you.
Really engaging presentation there. Thank you so much. I think what's really interesting is it shows where housing not only provides housing, but brings together the environment, technology, the services, and health and well-being. And I love the concept that people don't need to adapt, that we build well enough that our communities in such a way that they adapt for us. And I think we can all see that technology, whether it's the management or maintenance of housing, down to the quality of life, is going to play a bigger role in the next 10 years. So without, and there was a nice segue there mentioning what do we do in Ireland around modular housing in one of the slides. So ultimately, as I'm delighted to say now, we have Patrick Benn from Clenn Construction, which is an off-site home building company working on long-lasting housing solutions and accelerating schedules, you know what I mean, in comparison to maybe how we've traditionally built housing. So I'm delighted to invite Patrick to give his presentation.
Sorry for the technical difficulties, everyone. Good afternoon. Sean, thank you for the introduction. Yes, Carina, we do have modular home builders in Ireland. I am one of them, gladly to say. I am the co-founder of Clenn Construction, which went out and got certified in modular home building, timber frame modular home building in Ireland. And we created a joint venture company, RBC Modular, with the likes of Robridge, a sites construction company that specializes in site works and foundation works. Together, we partnered to come together and build better homes for the future. So, on these next couple of slides coming up, I'm going to show you what the benefits of modular are. Basic benefits is it's faster, it's stronger, and it's smarter construction. And the background pictures of these are some of our renderings. But in this slide, basically, who are we? Well, we're a volumetric modular builder. What's the difference? The term traditional construction, the term traditional is often described two types of linear construction, where each individual step is not only constructed entirely on site, but it also needs to be completed before the project can move forward to the next phase. Not too much can be done simultaneously. Examples: brick, blocks, stick built, and concrete. There are also some uncontrollable factors that could drastically affect the total construction time and the speed to occupancy. Inclement weather, for example. Should the weather decide not to cooperate for a few days during a project, it could end up delaying the construction time and the speed to occupancy. So what is volumetric construction? I'm going to play a video during this while I'm talking about this. The video is our show house that we had to set in order to achieve our certification in Ireland. So we actually had to build it, test it, have all the certifying government agencies come down, check it out, and we got it. So this is taking place halfway through the set on this first day. So again, volumetric modular construction is the process of fully assembling six-sided modules where you have four walls, a ceiling, and a floor. In an off-site factory, controlled settings, and joining them together to construct one house. Video below that is playing is basically a perfect example of what to expect when the house arrives to site. It is trucked in, it is lifted, it is set. All this happens, this is two houses being set within 8 hours. So this is about 3.5 weeks later. This is the finished product. This is what you get to see. Again, this is built for our certification, and this house shows you the quality and the sustainability. These are A2 rated houses. We're fully fitted out. It's a turnkey process. So you come in, you place your order, you go through the design, you meet with our design team. We have our own architects, our own engineers, our own fire ratings, our own certificates, and we basically build it to whatever standard you want us to build it to. And then we certify it and we turn it over to you. And it has the same life expectancy as any traditional construction home. So there's no quick flip homes here. These are all long-lasting modular homes. You can't even tell the difference between this and a traditional home. On to the next one. Volumetric module. Module is made of timber or pre-fitted with electrics, plumbing, heating, doors, windows, and internal finishes. They are commissioned prior to leaving the factory, ensuring that defects are minimized. Quality control is high. The units are then transported to site, carefully craned into position onto the prepared foundation. This is a video of our factory actually currently in process. This is a video live stream of yesterday morning. And then the modules leave our factory at 85 to 95% complete. They are completely watertight and shrink-wrapped. Working inside the factory prevents any weather delays. Quality control programs such as R1 called Offsite is used to monitor the daily tasks and allowed to be remotely in so anybody can access it, including knowledge. It is fully NSAI certified. It is built to the same design and structural life as a traditional house, and they're all E2 energy rated houses. What are the benefits of modular homes? Modular homes have four main benefits. Construction time. Modular homes are much faster to build than traditional homes. Bad weather can significantly cause project delays. Even after it subsides, there may not be safe to work on the site. And for how long is anyone's guess. There is also likely to be on-site delays and complaints from neighbors, and much of the work has to be completed beforehand. It usually takes 12 to 16 weeks from choosing the design of your modular home to moving in. This is true for whether it's one house or 50 houses. The design phase is worked out up front, then simultaneously the construction begins. Quality control and structural integrity. The controlled environment means that construction manager can easily supervise the work. With many different parts, this is very important. Both modular homes and traditional constructions are built to building regulatory codes. However, modular homes are often fitted with more timber and enhanced durability. This means they can better withstand the stresses of transportation to site and the high wind environments when the houses are being assembled. Number three, sustainability. With the building industry, as you guys heard, everybody speaking earlier, building industry has seen a shift in practices. Materials and environmental concerns becoming increasingly more important. Not only are sustainability materials better for the environment, they can also prove to be far more cost effective in the long run. Modular homes often have passive features such as house orientation, good ventilation, insulation, and shading built in at the design stage. Add-ons like solar power and gray water systems are also easily included. Further to that fact, most of the work has been done off-site, which means there is far less waste on site, saving you time and money. Cost effectiveness. It is usually cheaper to build a modular home, and that's because it takes less time. There's less time the owner has to spend renting another property while their house is being built. It's also important for builders on site because 90% of the work has been done for them. They can work solidly for a shorter period of time, get paid, and move on to another job. This is especially important if the site is far away from where they live, meaning the cost of travels and accommodations, if necessary, are dramatically reduced. In this slide, basically is a full overlay of the traditional timeline of construction versus the timeline of modular time. So again, the design and permitting, engineering, approval processes stages are about the same. Major differences: site preparation and infrastructure during traditional construction is taking place, but during modular construction, it's taking place at the exact same time that we're producing in the factory. So our modulars are being built at the exact same time as the foundations are being laid, drainage is being done, the sidewalks are being prepared, the streets are being built. Then in traditional construction, the next 6 months would be building construction, inspections, and buildings. Ours would all be completed already. We have the final connections, inspections, and walkthrough, and then we finish, up to 50% faster than traditional building. Other benefits, it's reduced labor costs, less material waste on site and in the factory, higher quality controlled structures, this checklist following, everybody has to do their part, and our guys monitor it on a daily basis and sign off on every single station. It's less site disturbance. You come in, you do the foundations, you do the greenways, you do the walkways, you do the parks, and you come in and you set the modules. And if you're doing a row of houses, you come in, you write out the row of 12 houses, and you do all your sidewalks, and then you're done. And it's flexible and adaptable, meaning it does you were saying on an earlier slide, there's many adaptable features into the modular housing. Free wire for smart homes. You can do it for age adapted homes, and they're all completely fully flexible. So you can build a 2-bedroom unit. You can leave features in the 2-bedroom unit, which means you leave electrical, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, and plumbing fixtures in the attics or the connection points, and we could actually add on to the modules. So you could drop another box behind if you have a growing family. So you only need 2 bedrooms 1 year, but then you might need 3 bedrooms the next year. You can add on to that house easily. They're also movable and permanent building options. Most of ours are fully permanent building options. We don't like to move them, but we can create instances of emergencies, such as here in the States, we dealt with a lot of hurricanes, tornadoes, other areas where we would have to move the houses and store and make temporary accommodations for people. We can do that if necessary. So benefits of our system. The biggest thing is we are fully NSAI certified, meaning that we went through 3 rigorous years of testing, building, testing, taking the houses, burning the houses down, testing them for fire rating, rebuilding them, showing everybody the life expectancy, and then having them sit there for about 3 years before approval. We also open up a factory in any county in Ireland. We have our main factory and our headquarters in Limerick, and we intend to stay there. But we have the factory up and ready for use in 60 to 90 days. With that, we will create local employment in any area that we work in. We use local suppliers. From a 150,000 square foot factory, 1,500 homes can be produced annually. That's 1,500 homes. Our current project that we are working on with partners, Peter McVeary Trust in Limerick, my Ross and Dunwich Park. It's 38 houses delivered. This is the housing minister. I'd like to thank him. He came down to site last week to see 4 of the modules that were dropped over the last month. It's four houses dropped in a month. And this is our transportation going through town. And like I said, all our units are watertight, wrapped, and transported by trucks to site, safe and securely. I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to listen to me today. And all my contact details are here on the slide. Anybody needs to get in touch with me. Thank you guys. Thank you all the other presenters. Thank you.
Patrick, thank you very much indeed for a very engaging presentation on modular. 3.5 weeks on site is so impressive, especially as a person who's four weeks into trying to put a new bathroom upstairs in their house, as I currently have. I think there'll be amazing interest in that going forward, and look forward to taking any questions people have, especially about the advantages of modular housing. Next, we have Mary O'Sullivan from Cuan and Chláir in Ennis, where they have developed 12 houses for older people, and really involving the tenants in and empowering tenants in levels of responsibility, where the tenants are involved in the development, maintenance, and co-creation of the area, and as they're on a journey to also introduce a day centre. So if I can ask Mary to present and come forward, that would be great.
I've been asked to know what the vision behind donating the land to make it available for this project. The diocese, I think, made that decision with a vision of building a community in which elderly people could comfortably live, elderly people who found it perhaps difficult living on their own in their own homes, particularly in isolated areas, and that these people could live in this community and have that help available to them which they need.
Bishop Willie Walsh had a vision, and the Diocese of Killaloe made the land available. But just as important was the appointment of a dynamic and experienced board, strong on leadership qualities, with a broad range of skills and expertise, capable of delivering that vision. Phase 1 saw the delivery of 12 houses and a daycare centre. Despite being the largest town in Munster, Ennis didn't have a dedicated daycare centre before the completion of Phase 1 of Cuan in 2015. The centre has been full every day since and continued to provide an invaluable service throughout the COVID period. Phase 2 is a construction and restoration project with community at its heart. The expansive site included the remains of a characterful courtyard and several outbuildings, which have been creatively and sensitively restored and adapted to meet the needs and aspirations of its new community, comprising older people and people with disability. In addition, new houses were constructed, together with the communal centre for all residents to support the community ethos which has underpinned the Cuan project from the start. The Phase 2 site was previously part of the working farm of nearby St. Flannan's College when it was a boarding school. Amongst former boarders put to work to pick potatoes and harvest vegetables were Bishop Willie Walsh and President of Ireland, Michael D. Higgins. In all, 14 houses have been delivered under Phase 2. The architects for Phase 2 are Hassett and Leyden Ennis, project management by Tom McNamara and Partners, and construction by Coolsifna. A central driver of Cuan's community ethos is Chairperson Pauline McNamara, who has a long-established track record of thinking outside the box to create approaches and services outside the norm within facilities dedicated to older people. While matron of Raheen Community Hospital, Pauline introduced services and supports considered radical at the time, including an artist in residence programme, together with strong emphasis on the delivery of stimulating creative pastimes and projects. Her visionary approach is given expression at Cuan through exceptional detail, designed to engender a genuine sense of community. From opportunities to garden, to the communal baking, to taking care of fowl, residents are encouraged to remain sociable, and for those able to continue working and to take pride in their environment. Ennis had to wait a long time for a daycare centre of its own, but having a centre where arts, crafts, computers, wellness and beauty therapies are as much part of everyday life as a healthy meal has made the wait worthwhile for its dedicated users. Similarly, residents of Phase 2 have been able to enjoy sheltered outdoor gatherings, even socially distanced ones, in the canopied gathering area tucked inside the east wall of the beautifully restored courtyard.
I would like to say how grateful I am to Pauline, Mary, Willie and Tom for their ongoing support throughout this cancer journey. Their kindness and generosity of spirit has exceeded my expectations, and I am eternally grateful. Thank you.
I contracted the COVID virus, but made a good recovery, and then I was allocated number 18 here at Cuan, and the committee, Pauline, Mary and Tom, Willie, they all made me so welcome, and I am so happy here. It's really heaven on earth for me.
And I'm certainly delighted how the project has turned out through the enormous work which so many people have done.
Well, that was a really engaging video. We're just having a few problems with the sound for Mary, but I think that video really stands for itself. So much of developments come from actually community effort and the cooperation of everybody working together. And we'd also appreciate Mary for all her hard work and also for being a late stand-in today as well. So ultimately is what we think we'll do now is we'll move straight into the questions, if that's okay with everybody. Okay, so we have a couple of questions coming in. The first question for Carina is there funding available for the likes of robot technology?
For the, sorry?
Is there
funding available for?
Yeah, for the likes of robot technology.
Well, it is, I think that we still have some issues in this because we do have fundings available from, at least from European funding for the development, but very little for implementation, which is something that we also try to advocate for in SHAFE. Usually, the problem is that a lot of European funding goes more to research, and then it is up for member states to be able to integrate this kind of solutions in daily care. I do think still this is not available everywhere, or at least not in many countries, and it will need to be further proven in terms of efficiency to be integrated in common daily practice. But at the same time, this is already somehow integrated in some health and care organizations. So I do believe it's possible to find the value proposition and the exploitation plan for this.
Yeah, from our own experience, we would have found that a lot of even very affordable technology can enhance the quality of life. This week I was talking to somebody here where we provide a lot of people with Alexas, and this 90-year-old and 92-year-old got an Alexa, and they spent a week listening to big bang music from dance halls from 40 years ago that they hadn't heard, and the joy that it brought them. And on top of that, wearables around health and well-being. So I think there is a lot of affordable technology out there that can help manage the risks and empower older people.
Yeah, it's true.
A few questions on modular housing. How long modular housing? How long to assemble on site from foundation?
So from foundation, once the foundation is finished, we generally crane in about a couple days later. We give it some drying time, and depends on how many modules, how many boxes there are to the house. But generally, it's about 4. It generally takes about 12 hours, and come back and then we start the scaffold up and we start the exterior envelope, either brick, block, or any certified system or exterior plaster render like that. So it usually takes about 4 to 5 weeks in total after we land the module to.
Yeah, and then another question, as I anticipated, I think modular is creating some good interest, I suppose. Are the banks and funders happy to finance modular the same way as they are financing traditional housing building?
Yes, our experience has been, yes, they're actually eager to fund it because it actually gets completed quicker. So they're not paying for a site that they actually have no possession of. Once the funding is secured by the bank, you're actually in your house very quickly. The bank can actually start receiving payments back. So funding and capital people tend to prefer modular because it's.
Okay, and again, back to yourself, Patrick. I suppose, you know, there's a question here about the level. What sort of level of carbon usage in manufacturing modular compared to traditional build?
So we try to almost be carbon neutral. Our houses actually don't have any gases at all in them. So we're all fully electric, to hot water and solar panels. Try to be as much as possible in production.
Okay. All right. So I suppose just back to yourself, Carina. You know, is there a value of how do you see this sort of certification and the value of linking in with the EU social inclusion funding?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think at this point, possibly one of the things that will come up in the future, because we know that we are more and more working towards outcome-based approaches and having to prove a little bit of what is the benefits of the work we deliver in different sectors. I do think that we will come to a place where we will need to adopt as much as possible some kind of efficiency models, certification schemes and others. So I won't advocate for one specifically, but I do think that it is in the interest of organizations to try to find a framework that works for them and that can show for this inclusiveness factor, show for the integration of the different aspects, and somehow be able to express clearly what's the benefits out of the intervention. So I do think this can make some difference in the future to access to funding and others. Yeah.
I think the fact that I was looking there, you were saying 170 different participations and agencies, I think really points out the complexity of integrating housing with community and environment, but also the amount of stakeholders that need to be put together. And I think the work you've laid down people will take from that learning and development into all our models of operations. I think in the last section, Bob Jordan mentioned the health and housing policy that has come out for the older people, which is about trying to integrate those types of things for all older people. But I think all the learning in these sectors can move. What works for older people will work with people with disabilities, maybe for families, but also for homeless, etc., or any group that may need support. And I think a presentation today presented that. So I think that's the questions we have in, and I'd like to thank everybody for their time. I'd like to thank everybody for the excellent presentations, and also for Mary. We didn't get to hear your voice, Mary, but we saw from the video the skills, the abilities, and the energy that had been embraced to deliver the site and the innovation. I think what I can see today is the future of innovation in our sector, is safe in the fact that, there are so many people in this conference working very hard to find the solutions for very many different types of housing need and demand that's out there, and we appreciate everybody's efforts in that area. So we'd like to thank you all for your time today, and we'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.